So what are my views of the 2020 13-inch MacBook Pro base model 30 days later? Let's find out. All right, so the base model. So the reason I do get the base model is it helps all my viewers out there. Most people do get the base model. I'm not going to get the $4,000 or $5,000 model that no one can afford. This is the 2020 13-inch, base model MacBook Pro, and it's retails for like $1,200 or whatever. So what are my reviews of this 30 days after actually using it when I really put some real world use into it? Let's go ahead and find out. I'm going to go through a couple different pros and cons with everyone. What are my initial reactions to the pros, to the cons, and then I'm going to give you my kind of review at the very end of it after the 30 days. Hopefully it'll help people make an informed decision if you're thinking about buying this. All right, one of the pros is going to be the design. It's like a piece of lead or a piece of metal that's fully machined perfectly. So as far as design and stuff like that, opening the hinges, opening up the screen and everything like that, it's probably best in class for the $1,200. I mean, you feel like you can drop this and it would not break, but it probably would. At the end of the day, though, it's going to be, the construction of it is perfect. So that's the one positive. After 30 days of this, I have no change in that. Perfect construction. That's a positive. Now, one of the big negatives of this, and again, I want to just let people know that this is what happens with this machine, is the reason I say it can't really be called a laptop is because you really can't always have this on your lap. There's a couple of reasons why. This actually, while it has a lot of performance and performance is really good, it actually heats up quite a bit. I mean, when it's doing video editing and things like that, it can get up to close to 99 degrees Celsius, and it's really hot on the backside and on the keyboard. So it gets really hot. I mean, you couldn't put this on your lap if you're doing video editing. And even when I'm just basically doing basic stuff, maybe just watching TV and stuff, you really want to have like a pad below you or one of those laptop holders, I guess, because it does get a little bit warm, and it kind of, in the middle of the summer you get a little hot and you start sweating a little bit when you have this on you. The vents are obviously on the back here, but it does get a little bit more warm, I guess, than I would think. I think the version that's $17.99 has a couple more fans in it or has different thermals. But this one, while it works perfectly, and I can't really say it's the biggest negative, you can't really call it a laptop because you can't really have it always on your lap because it might burn you if you have shorts on. It does get some heat to it, and just something to consider. That's one of the reasons, what I'll call a negative on this, is it gets a lot hotter than I would envision it getting. Long term, I don't know what that's going to do to, how long it's going to last and stuff because of that heat. We're going to have to find out. Positive. Hard drive in this, really fast. I'll put up some numbers here from Blackmagic, but you guys get the idea. It's very fast, and you can't complain for a base model for $1,200. It's quite a bit faster than most of the laptops out there on the Windows side. All right, so the keyboard. The keyboard is both a positive and a negative for me. So one of the biggest positives, obviously, is it's the new Magic Keyboard. It has a lot of travel, feels really good. It's way better as it boots up. It's way better than some of my older MacBooks where the keys had almost no travel. You don't have the same issues with all of it breaking all the time and everything. So that's a huge advantage. I mean, that's a huge advantage for me after 30 days. This is a true big upgrade for the keyboard. The negative that I did see, though, after using this for 30 days is just really, kind of two things. For me, it seems just a little tight or cramped. I don't know why. Compared to some other Windows laptops, maybe because I'm not used to, disclaimer, I'm not used to the 13-inch. I usually use a 15.4-inch screen. But I mean, just maybe they don't have enough real estate. But for me, it's a little bit tight. So if you had huge hands, I'm only 5'10", and if you were like maybe 6'2", 6'3", this might be too small for your hands. Just something to consider when you're thinking about it. Other than that, I mean, the only other negative is just really the touch bar. I almost never use it, and it's one of those things like, should it really even be in there? I'm not so sure. But they put it in there, so that's what Apple did, and you're gonna have to live with it. They call it an advantage. They used to charge for it, so let's live with it. It's not terrible. I'm not, it's not it's a first world problem. Let's put it that way. So, not a big deal. Negative. Really the two ports on here. I have a bunch of videos if you guys have watched them. Does this really affect you in real world? I have that dongle I showed everyone for $25. I also have external hard drives. Realistically though, they should have a couple more ports on the other side because sometimes you want to plug this in and the power's on the wrong side or something. Does it, is that a huge negative for me realistically after 30 days? I would say, slightly, but not really. So I'm going to count it as a negative, but the ports, they do become an issue. Check out the $25 hub I showed everyone and check out some stuff, external hard drives. That really fixes it. But I mean, at the end of the day, if they just added maybe one or two more, this would make this a perfect machine for ports. But that's one negative, I think, and that's one thing that, everyone talks about, but you can't really get away from it. So people are going to hate me for saying this one also, but the space now, I want to talk about the space of this. It's 256 gigabytes, and it's a plus and a negative again. The reason it's a plus is because it's double what it was last year for the base model, and after everything is said and done, you do get about 200, for some reason you get about 220 when this is delivered to you, usable gigabytes, somewhere in that range, 220 gigabytes out of that 200 and whatever. So it does take up, the OS takes up only a little bit of it, so that's a positive. You have a, if you're not doing heavy video editing and stuff like that, this, it's enough space for most people. But the negative is, again, it's going to come down to just, why can't they just give you a little bit more space? Because then you're going to have to use some dongles if you do video editing and stuff like that for the external hard drives. It's like right on the cusp of not being enough, but you know what you're getting into when you buy this. So I'm going to make it more of a positive because I doubled it than a negative. All right, so positive. Speakers. I almost rarely ever need to use headphones with these. Speakers are really solid. I mean, the version that's more expensive, they actually even get better, and the 16-inch is even better yet. But for a system like this, the speakers, I just tend to not use my headphones that much. Speakers are very clear. You can hear audio very easily and listen to music. They don't maybe get as loud as I wanted, but at the end of the day, these are really, really, really good speakers. All right, a negative. Apple says this gets 10 to 11 hours of battery. From real world use, and I'm not talking video editing or anything like that, I got it upside down, I'm getting about 6 to 7 hours, maybe sometimes 5, 6, 7 hours. Don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm watching YouTube videos mostly, so that's eating up some stuff, but I'm just browsing the web and stuff. So maybe 5 to 8 hours, somewhere in that range, depending on what you do. I can't get 11 hours out of this. I call it a negative because that's what they're advertising. Compared to other laptops, it's probably a positive, but just something to consider. Positive. Screen in this is incredible. It's really, really good. I guess you can call the bezels a negative. They don't look the best for this day and age, but the screen is beautiful. It's great. Good brightness, 500 nits. Can't complain. Positive. Webcam. Negative. Not the best. Everyone knows it's a 720p. They haven't advanced it. Hopefully the next version will have it, so stay tuned for that maybe. I call it a negative. All right, so this machine for $1,200, I'm going to give it now a 4 out of 5 because of the issues I went through. It's not a 5 out of 5 like I said, but it's still, it's maybe a 4 to 4.5, but I'm going to say 4 out of 5. It's a really solid laptop for basic stuff. You can do pretty much anything you want with it. After 30 days though, I noticed, obviously getting a little bit hotter than I liked. The bezel again on the screen is maybe eating me away a little bit because it should be a little bit nicer. It has a little thicker bezel. But other than that, the screen is super nice. The hard drives are very fast. You can do any student or anything like that's going to love this. Video, just watching videos and stuff. So for the money, it's a great unit. I'm not going to, tell you it's not. But there's a couple little things like, like I had mentioned before, dongles and stuff that kind of eat away at you, and maybe it gives you a 4 out of 5 compared to what you can get on the Windows side. Should you again buy this one or should you wait for the new one? I always kind of say, same with buying cars and stuff. When you buy the very new version that comes out, and that might be still 6 months or 8 months away, you're going to be buying a system that may have a lot of issues with it because they haven't worked them all out. So do you want to be that person, or do you want to be the person that buys the second model of that version? So what I would recommend is, buying this. This is going to be good for 5 or 6 years, maybe selling it in 3, and at the end of the day, you're done with it. All right, thanks again for watching my video. And if everyone can just help me out a little bit, I always put this at the end of the videos, but realistically, if you can just help share my video and maybe subscribe and hit the like button if you're watching it. I do this for very little to no money, and I just want to try to grow my channel, try to help people, and I always try to find things that are the cheaper versions to help people instead of, the high-end reviewers that buy the $10,000 units. So I'm trying to buy stuff out of my own money, and I try to help people with it. So if you can share my videos and share my channel with anyone that likes technology or Macs or Apples and things like that, it would really help me out. So at the end of the day, I'll talk to everyone soon. Hopefully you liked the video, and hopefully I can hold this the right direction now. So we'll talk to you soon. Stay safe out there. Hopefully this terrible virus will pass soon. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks.